Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you my thoughts on a group of high-profile players asking the NFL to endorse a new form of social activism.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why Dak Prescott actually deserves a little bit of the criticism being thrown right his way. Speak for yourself starts now. And I like Dak a lot.
I'm going to bash Dak.
I like Dak a lot, but
Heard Alex Smith and Trevor
qualifiers.
I'm so upset with you right now. Hello and welcome. We're joined today by a couple of guys who have won Super Bowls, longtime NFL coach Rob Ryan and former Pro Bowl corner Eric Davis. Let's start in the NFL, where the first 2 weeks have been a disappointment to a lot of fans, with scoring way down and a dearth of exciting and competitive games. Now Sports Illustrated writes that the blame lies with NFLPA President DeMaurice Smith, who fought for and won reduced practice time for the players, something Bill Belichick says has played a role in the declining quality of play.
I just think in general, fundamentally, it's difficult to play on the offensive and defensive line. You're playing a contact position with pads, and you're practicing it without pads the majority of the time. So that usually develops a lot of bad habits. A lot of the techniques that a player would have a chance to work on and improve with pads, that opportunity just isn't there without pads. So it's hard to improve on those at those positions when a lot of the time you're practicing techniques that are really not the ideal technique, or in some cases incorrect, and it just develops bad habits, especially on the offensive line.
All right, Colin, the players wanted less practice, but the owners were the ones who allowed it. Who's more to blame for the low-scoring start to the season?
It's the owners. We always fire the coaches and blame the players. It's the owners. The owners have always controlled this league. They're the only billionaires involved. Don't blame DeMaurice Smith. The NFLPA has been reduced. I mean, the Baseball Umpire Union has more power than the NFLPA and always have. You don't even have guaranteed money in this league. It's the owners. So here you had a league forever. 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock Monday Night Football. Then they sandwich in a Sunday game. All right, but it's still on Sunday. Now we got 20 games. We got 16 Thursdays, 2 days of less prep time. We got 6 in London, 6 days of less prep time. So all of a sudden, my daughter's going to a recital with 2 days fewer to practice. She's not as good at a recital. You're asking players in a sport with film study, choreography. Hey, go to London, but that's one less day. Makes us money. Go play on Thursday. Yeah, but I can't practice. Yeah, it makes us more money. This is on the owners. This is Starbucks. They've saturated the product.
I was going to call it a photo finish and say the owners are more to blame, but you just expanded the lead a little bit more. It's definitely on the owners. Again, the greed that you're talking about and talked about yesterday and you're spelling out again today in terms of we're oversaturated.
Yes.
It's too much football.
Too much football.
I'm a little bit worried when I go into Thursday. I'm a little weary, and I can imagine what the players are like. However, I will say that the owners aren't the only ones greedy here in terms of the players, and I understand it's about health and safety, allegedly, but everybody wants more for less. Everybody does. And so the players bear a little bit of responsibility here, thinking that they can play this game at the highest level without the traditional amount of preparation and practice. So I put a little bit of blame on the players as well.
No, I absolutely agree. I think the players, you know, when they got together, they came up with, hey, we'll only have one padded practice a week. We'll do this. I mean, it was like it was almost, you know, for the old aging veteran player.
Right.
You know, Jeff Saturday was in there. I mean, he was on his 100th year. So, I mean, it's almost like it was put together with those guys in mind. You know, it's hard to develop these young players. I mean, shoot, when I was in New England, we had guys practice after practice with just the rookies and just the young players, and we'd practice them 15 extra minutes, full pads, the whole works. We'd scrimmage a little bit. We'd do different things so you could develop them. But, you know, I think it is what it is, and the coaches have to do a better job of preparing, even though, you know, it's tough. You don't have all these techniques you can work on, you know, as well as you'd like. But, you know, in fairness, I mean, Bill Belichick's got the best offensive line coach that's ever coached probably in Dante Scarnecchia. And his guys are protecting the passer. So hire better offensive line coaches.
He does make one really interesting point here. The guys in that negotiating room are veteran players.
Yeah, there's no question.
Eric Davis is probably in there.
Okay. But can I say something? I played my first 6 years in the league with the San Francisco 49ers, and in those 6 years, we were probably in full pads. And this is under the old rule.
That's right.
We were probably in full pads 20 times. We never wore pads.
You had Jerry Rice.
Wait, hold on. No, we're talking about offensive line, defensive line play. I had some of the best offensive linemen and defensive linemen in the league as well. They didn't hit. They didn't wear pads. They worked on technique. You mentioned better coaching. This right here, we're talking, first of all, it's bad football if it's defensive football. What is happening is that the rules are now being understood by defensive players, okay? Negative rule changes affect less talented players, okay? So when you change the rules to where defensively you can't jam guys at the line of scrimmage, you can't touch guys in the middle of the field, you can't hit a guy high, it started to weigh on some of the older players that were in the league. Guys have learned to adapt. You get faster defenses. Now all of a sudden, guess what? Denver's secondary, they understand how to play and not grab and not touch. You get those guys. You start to take a small linebacker, and you instead, once upon a time, you were going to get this guy bigger. You were going to get Derrick Brooks, Urlacher. These guys were safeties that you turned into bigger linebackers. Now what you're doing, you're getting these guys, and you're saying we're going to get smaller safeties. We want guys that can move around and can cover in space. The rules are now being understood by the defenses, so they are catching up to the offense again. It happens in cycles all the time.
Well, and to Eric's point, we are overstating it. This is the most bet, watched, consumed, talked about league in sports. And there is this apocalyptic nature. We always do this. During the 2008 stock market crash, end of capitalism. No, not really. It's fine. People are still gonna invest. The NFL is so big, it's no longer a growth league. It is a plateau business. Just don't lose ground. And so when it loses,
they're losing a little ground.
Well, okay, losing 1%, losing to McDonald's is not a growth business. It is, you're just holding on.
But we're not even talking about them losing ground. We're talking about scoring being down. And the scoring is just down right now because, like I said, you had this big wave and everyone's getting 400 yards, 500 yards passing because we got to stop the Legion of Boom. We got to stop these guys from touching the receivers. And now they have figured out how to play within the system.
Got it. But I think for fans, and I consider myself a fan, the style of play isn't as compelling as it once was.
And
the games aren't as exciting.
What's going to happen? They're going to change the rules again to make it easier for the offense.
Still pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, those are some great points that you make there, Eric. The one thing is, if you're watching some of these games, the Janoris Jenkins versus Des Bryant, if they're not beating the heck out of each other the entire way down the field, like when Seattle Legion of Boom was going, I mean, it looks like they're letting them get away with it a lot more this year than they did before, and I think that's what scoring's done. More now, you know, they don't want to see 50 flags on defensive pass interference.
Yes,
everybody's
we
adapting.
set the record in New Orleans when I had Brandon Browner. You know, it was disgusting. Every time, all right, we got an incomplete. Oh, there's a flag. I mean, you know, that got old and got me fired. But I think with, you know, they're letting them play a little bit more. And in Bill Belichick's words, he always says, do business as business is being done. If they're not calling flags, they're going to jam you 20 yards down the field.
There you go.
Good point.
You know, we won a Super Bowl doing that to the Colts.
See, Ezekiel Elliott, who was caught on tape giving up on a play during the Cowboys' blowout loss to Denver last Sunday, and has been taking heat for it all week, including from former Cowboy great Deion Sanders.
We found out that's what's really inside of Zeke, because Zeke was pouting, acting like a baby. You're not going to see that from Emmitt Smith. You're not going to see that from Marshall Faulk or LaDainian Tomlinson. That's why we got to quit putting these youngsters on a pedestal, man, and make them earn this thing. They had one good year.
All right, Whitlock, Deion.
One of the hardest hitters in NFL history.
Do you expect Zeke to respond positively to that?
No, but I don't expect him to respond publicly to it either. Look, I think Zeke's just an unusual case for everybody, because I get Deion saying we need to give this dude some tough love. And I agree with that across the board as it relates to a lot of young people and young athletes. But Zeke right now is in a unique position. He feels like he's been wrong by Goodell, the court system. He feels like the way this domestic violence thing has been handled is unfair. And so I think it's hard for Jerry Jones and these guys to be as hard on Zeke right now because of all that he's going through. But I do think Deion makes some fair points.
I think there's a lot of things here that are tough for Zeke. First of all, he's young. It's harder for young people to deal with criticism. He's immature. The Cowboys are the #1 TV show in America. He's got an enabling owner. He is a star. Like, there's a drip, drip, drip effect. If he was a veteran and he was a little more mature and he played for the Jaguars and he was,
ouch,
like it's hard. He's a young, immature kid. By the way, that play probably happened 8 times last year during a Jets-Browns game.
I want to add just a little bit of information before Zeke did publicly respond, says he can't do that. He can't put that kind of effort on film.
So there's a...
Yeah, well said.
But I think this is a tough spot. This is being a Dallas Cowboy, you think, oh, I play college football. No, playing for Ohio State's different than playing for Oregon State. The Cowboys are the biggest TV show in America.
Well, I really don't think Zeke really cares about any of the criticism that he's getting. I don't. I think Zeke is that dude. He's been that dude in high school, at Ohio State. Now the Dallas Cowboys have anointed him as the guy after his first year. And once you anoint him as the guy, those are some of the things you're going to get. When he's frustrated, when he's operating under a different set of rules that he knows apply to him and him only, then that's what you're going to get. So as far
what do you
as
think of his response, though? Can't put that on film. I can't do that.
Oh, okay. That's okay. That's true. That's true. So he's responding. He's responding to a question that's being asked, because the question is being asked. Do I think it's going to change him in any way? No. He's the guy. They made him the guy.
Yeah, I think you're right, Eric, on the point that he is the guy and things like that. The only thing is, it's a bad play. It's a bad play. It's an embarrassment to him, because here's a guy that's a physical guy. I mean, he runs between the tackles as physical as any back in the league. He blocks blitz and linebackers.
Yep.
I mean, this guy does a lot of great things. Has he had some maturity things? Okay, those are all, everything's so well documented in the public nowadays. Like you say, he's a star, Colin, in the biggest stage. The biggest show is the Cowboys. But I think this is a disappointment to not only himself but his teammates, because this kid's better than this. And
it goes against his brand.
Yeah, and he made a mistake. This isn't him. He's a physical kid. And I bet you he'll chase, I think he's embarrassed by it. I think one time I brought it up to a Hall of Famer about his effort one time, and at first he was going to be, hit me, knock me out under the chin. But eventually he said, you know what, you were right. And it's true. I mean, the NFL is grown men football, and you run after that football no matter if you're on offense and defense. And I think this was out of character for him. First of all, he was in a spot he probably not used to being in the deep middle part of the field. Then he saw the guy catch it. He's not used to that because Prescott doesn't throw many picks. I'm a Prescott guy. And then, hey, his reaction was poor.
Well, Coach, I think the spot that he wasn't accustomed to being in was the Dallas Cowboys not running him and feeding him the ball. So when you decide to throw it 50 times and it's not working, and you look over and you see Dez drop a ball when you're not giving him the ball, he was just frustrated.
By the way,
and that was just a part of it.
Could be.
2 games in his career, he didn't get the ball. I mean, he's been the center
Yeah, that's right.
of the Ohio State game and this one. And in both instances, it was like, hey, man, it's like Kobe Bryant.
And
if
he rebounded and played well after that.
That's right. I mean, you think about Kobe Bryant. If Kobe had 2 games in his career where he shot 4 times, what would Kobe be like in the last quarter? He'd be upset. All right, welcome back. Rob Ryan's back now, joined by Super Bowl champ Seth Joyner. Let's move to Dallas. Why not? Dak Prescott's looking to regroup from Sunday's ugly loss in Denver, but is dealing with some new doubters after one of the worst performances of his young career. Former running back D'Angelo Williams. You ever met him? Good dude, funny. Just called Dak out in a conversation with our buddy Doug Gottlieb.
Dak is a clock manager. Dak is not one of those guys that's going to come and win football games. When you go down 14 or 21 points, that's when Dak, he can't bring you back from that. And bringing you back from that, in my opinion, means winning the football game. Not making it where it looks easy or even on paper, but it didn't lose by that many. Once Dak gets down and you can't run the football anymore, you're forcing Dak to make precision throws that Dak is not really comfortable throwing.
All right, Whitlock, I think what Williams is saying has some merit, and the whole clock manager thing is such a stigma in the NFL. Does it have merit?
Clock manager, he's a game manager is what he's calling him. And yeah, I disagree with his take, but I do think it's fair criticism. If someone holds that opinion, I'm not going to call him crazy. I think Dak has more upside. I may be basing it off of a false narrative because I saw him in Green Bay go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers and not be a clock manager last year. And so, again, I think the jury is still out on Dak. I think he's off to a great start. you know, overall in the 16, 17, 18 games he's played. He did. That was rough in Denver. It's one of the best defenses, best secondaries. Von Miller, they shut down the run. And again, Eric Davis isn't here, but he makes the point all the time. You need help from your head coach. And I don't know if he gets it all the time.
I'm going to say he is a game manager, but here's the thing. So was Tom Brady. His first 2 years, he managed games. My theory in this league is outside of Elway, Andrew Luck, about once a decade. There's a kid you just give the playbook to. You just give him the playbook. By and large, Big Ben was a game manager for a year, okay? The question's always been, does Andy Dalton have a next gear? We were fooled. He doesn't. I think Dak does. I think he's coachable, mobile, tough, great leadership, average arm, average size. But couldn't I argue that virtually, outside of these generational phenoms, the first year in the league, none of you coaches want to have these guys throwing more than 22 times. Phillip Rivers didn't throw his
Not everybody's Alex Smith. Just say it like that.
Well, I mean, you just mentioned Alex Smith. The funny thing is Dan Mullen coached both of them. Alex Smith in Utah, and then, you know, was fortunate and blessed to coach Dak Prescott at Mississippi State. I know Dak Prescott he's got some Tom Brady in him. He's such a leader where people just follow, and you saw that in college, and you see it even in Dallas. And I think he's going to be special. I know, he had 5 comeback wins last year in the NFL. You know, the game managers don't just do that. I mean, to me, this guy, he was a one-man show at Mississippi State. And the people that saw him, he might have thrown 67% completion percentage and things like that, but that doesn't show the game. This guy was a one-man show, and he carried the team on his shoulders to a #1 ranking for half the year. You know, so he's a special guy. He went up against a great defense. You see Dez dropping a ball, gets intercepted, doesn't look good. This is a special guy, and I think he's a real deal. I really do.
I do not believe that he is a game manager. But what I do know is that as Zeke goes, this offense goes. Because when you take the passing game away from him, and I've been saying the running game rather, and we talked about this earlier in the year. You was like, oh, Dez is gonna have a great year, and Dak is gonna break out. When I get the chance, I got to do it. But I said it in the past. You know, all players, in my opinion, are in a 3-year window when they first come in the league. There's this learning process, and it's even that much greater when you talk about quarterbacks. Because they got to see blitzes, they got to see disguises, they got to see multiple defenses that shift and move, shifting from 30 fronts to 40 fronts to eagle fronts. You're getting all these different things until they see it and experience it live. There's this growth and maturation process. And to give you an indication how important the running game is to a young player, okay, anytime that the Dallas Cowboys have run 30-plus times, their record is 11-1. His completion percentage is 69%, 250-plus yards per game. They're 8.0 yards per attempt, 19-2 touchdown to interception ratio.
When they're running the ball.
When they're running the football. See, so I just don't buy into this whole devaluation of the running back position and make it a quarterback-driven league. You have to have a quarterback to win, but a quarterback's best friend is the running game if your name is not Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or Drew Brees.
Exactly. There's 3 guys in the world that can throw the ball on your terms. Generally, almost everybody in this league throws it on their terms. But 4 guys maybe in the world. Okay, it's 3rd and 11. I feel comfortable. I mean, if you think about it, it used to be when we were growing up, the toughest thing to do in sports was hit a baseball. I think once the huddle disappeared, and now that you're asked to throw the ball 40 times, I think the toughest thing to do in American sports is quarterback.
No question about it. All right, welcome back to the show. Eric Davis and Seth Joyner are back. Let's return to the NFL, where a group of players, including Michael Bennett, Torrey Smith, Malcolm Jenkins, and the recently retired Anquan Bolden, sent a memo to Roger Goodell asking for the league to support their campaign for racial equality and social justice reform, and calling for the league to designate November as an Activism Awareness Month, much like the league's ongoing campaign supporting the military and breast cancer awareness. All right, on the surface, I think these guys are well-intentioned. They want to do something. They want to be involved. I get it. I just don't know if this was the right approach. The memo, they're a group of millionaires. I believe they wrote the memo because it's poorly written. It's not grammatically sound. There's factual errors. They have Trayvon Martin being killed by the police. They're asking at one point, for us, support means, and this is to the owners, bear all or part of the weight, hold up, give assistance to, especially financially, unable to function or act. Sentence is confusing for one, but you can't go to another group of people and say, we have a problem and we want you to bear all as it relates to fixing the problem. That's not the way you convince a group of billionaires to support your cause. And so they've spelled out some things that I think will sound great on Twitter, but I just think they're asking football and football owners to do things that are well outside their area of expertise. What the players have spelled out is well outside their area of expertise. They got some deadlines that all coincide at the beginning of next football season. I get it, they're well-intentioned, but this is misguided.
I'm okay asking for stuff. And by the way, breast awareness, cancer awareness, they asked for it probably. There was a meeting. I'm okay for asking. Here's my problem with what has happened in the American media. If I don't support every charity, every cause, or every ism, I'm anti that. Well, no, I'm not. If I don't race to Twitter to condemn Charlottesville, which is egregious and horrific, I'm for it. No, I was with my kids playing. Like, if you don't support somebody's charity, let's say, for instance, the NFL did not support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Would they be pro-cancer?
No.
So here's my thing. I'm for the ask, and I'm for the financial support. But what if the NFL says, listen, we can do some things, but we're not going to make it one of our months? Like, are they then racist? Because that's the world we live in now. You're all in or you're anti-me. Can I be partially in? Can I support you in other ways? Like I said this earlier to you on The Herd, I said, man, September it starts, November. You're not asking a little thing here. No. You got to go all in on this. So I'm for the ask, but if the NFL steps back, here comes the Twitter avalanche that you're anti-racial equality, and that's what bothers me. It feels like bullying.
It is bullying.
Well, what if you're going in for the ask and you're coming in, just like anything else when you're in a negotiation, you're trying to come in and you're going to start high, knowing that any response is going to be lower than what you've asked for. So the assumption here is that you're saying because they've asked, and this is what the teams are always asking players. You know this, Seth. The teams they ask players. In some cases, they demand that players become active in their communities and do things and go out and be a part of it. So now you have a group of players saying, owners, as a part of that local activism and ask that you want from us, why don't we incorporate this into it as well? Yeah. I don't see a problem with them asking for that.
You know, originally I thought this was a bad idea until I started reading some of the stuff, because there's a week for this and a month for that. And at the end of the day, what does it really accomplish? All of these months and weeks that we have for these different agendas. These players are so involved in the community, and it makes sense. And when I read that they want to have November to serve as a month of unity, now that sounds like something that you can get behind. Right. That sounds like something that makes some sense for a team to engage and impact the community in their markets. That makes sense because all of these players are involved in one way or another in the community in which they play. A lot of the players, and a lot of the fans, and a lot of media don't know.
The team wants them to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's hard to justify an entire month, but it makes sense because, you know, Jeffrey Lurie, Roger Goodell recently was just with the players in Philadelphia talking about, social justice reform in the area and criminal justice reform. And I was really blown away that they were actually there, that they were present, you know. So I think it's a good idea. I'm not so sure that, you know, a social activism month is a great idea.
Let me ask this question, and former players, and we've all worked. These are four guys that don't sound like they went to the union that they pay dues to.
Right.
And so when you're asking the NFL to do these major things, that speaks for everybody, all the players in the league. it would make sense to partner up with DeMaurice Smith in the union and get a more broad-based support than just these 4 guys. Because I'm telling you, what the union would have done is said, hey, guys, we're a group of millionaires. We're not going to put some grammatically poor, factually incorrect memo in front of the owners. We're going to pay someone to put something as professional as possible in front of them so that if it does get leaked to the media, there's nothing in here that makes us look bad. Again, everything seems so non-strategic and so just from the seat of my pants. There's no organization. They're not acting like what the typical millionaire does when he's trying to talk. When you go consult with a venture capitalist, you better come with a damn airtight game plan, but not some stuff I just scribbled out when the first sentence is grammatically incorrect.
But the thing is, consider why they didn't go through the PA. Because the players know where the power is. If they've already got Roger Goodell's ear, why do they need to go? Why would they?
Because you're representing other. You got to think about the rest of the guys in the league. Not every.
No. What they're doing, they're representing. These 4 men are representing themselves because they didn't go to the union, and as Seth said, they have the commissioner's ear. So if you have his ear, you already have a meeting with him. You set up the meeting and you do it because you are assuming that by going to the union, they were going to say, okay, let's get this done. We're just going to go ahead and set up this meeting and do what you're asking. That's not necessarily the case.
What would happen is they would go to the union, and then the union would have to go to the NFL. Why go to a third party when you can go right to the guy that can make the decision?
Because I'd want to go with as many as possible. I want broad-based support from all the players and the union. I just don't want to be 4 guys.
By the way, the NFL got into the charity business in 1973, NFL charities. It's not their first rodeo. They're good with this stuff. And I do think, listen, the NBA is really very pro-player. Baseball's kind of pro-player. NFL's less pro-player. In the end, no matter who you're doing business with, let's say you do a trade in the NFL. I don't want to win the trade. I want to win my part, and I want you. The one thing where I support the players is this has been the least player-friendly league. It behooves the owners to embrace the players more. It really does. There is a narrative that I think is true. I mean, Thursday games, London games, they ain't really asking players. There's always been a sense after the CBA, the owners win. That's not the sense in the NBA. In fact, I would say the last NBA agreement, the owners lost. They're losing money, 18 of these franchises. I do think the ask is cool, and I do think the NFL owners come across as too powerful and not player-friendly. So that's why I'm okay with the ask. All I'm saying is, if we don't give you everything, it doesn't mean we're anti what you're asking.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
Welcome back, Seth Joyner's here. We're joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Kevin Durant, who spent the week dealing with allegations that he tried to use a dummy account to respond to critics on Twitter. Now, reportedly, the Warriors front office is, quote, perplexed by Durant's oddball offseason, which also included KD taking a shot at Steph Curry's shoe company, Under Armour. Whitlock, should the Warriors be concerned about Durant's off-season behavior?
No, I mean, it should maybe cross their radar, but worried? No, the guy was just the MVP of the finals. He's the second most talented player in the league. Look, he's a different kind of dude, and I'm starting to warm to him after ridiculing him. I thought you made a great point, or was McIntyre made a great point yesterday, that he thought winning a championship was going to be like, fix everything. Everybody loves me now. I just won a championship. I'm the finals MVP. And it didn't. That's just the beginning of the journey. I think he'll be okay. I really do. He's just a very transparent person who, he's a mama's boy. And there's a lot of mama's boys in the NBA.
Yeah, I thought a lot about this last night, and I kind of pivoted to, I'm surprised the Warriors don't get it. I mean, listen, Michael Jordan, 6 MVPs, greatest player ever, does his Hall of Fame speech, and he takes a shot at his high school coach. We all have a first love, and we're 50, and we remember our first love at 12. We're asking Kevin Durant, a 28-year-old, to have the world's most public divorce, then be America's villain, and 15 months later just be all over it. course he's not all over it, man. It's it's his life. He's a kid, man. It's hard for him. And to your point yesterday, I just kind of whiffed on this and I thought about it. Like, he's human. I saw a quote today. He's like, man, I had acne. I was tall and gawky. He goes, I'm a lot closer to you people than you think I am.
And he's dealing with this stuff every single day, guys. Every day on social media. LeBron, when he went through the decision, social media wasn't what it is today. It would have been much more difficult. But I want to look big picture here. This kind of stuff should not concern the Warriors, and the NBA should love it. This is great drama to have. LeBron trolling people with cryptic stuff, Russ with the cupcakes on Instagram. These are great dramas to have. Halloween parties where the Cavs take shots. Look at the NFL right now. They would kill for this drama. They're dealing with the political business. They're dealing with the off-the-field issues, the head trauma. I'm sure you guys saw the CTE news today. These are like real problems. The NBA's problems are like fun, like drama. Yeah. Like I can dig this problem.
You know, I don't think it'll be an issue. Listen, these are Kevin Durant's issues. And this is why the other day when we talked about it, I said he should have came out when he first made the decision to leave and addressed these issues. He criticized Billy Donovan. He criticized his teammates, his guys that he couldn't win with the exception of the one guy that could help him was Russ. Now, he's dealing with this now, and he did it through Twitter, of all places. Okay, if he would have done it a long time ago, when he left, the landscape would be different. But these are issues on the inside of him that he's now releasing, and it's getting out to other people that I feel like he has to deal with and get it out of his system. Okay, he's apologized, he's moved on. I think he's going to be fine. But these are issues. You know, you talk about him being a mama's boy. You know, this era that we live in of soft millennials, a lot of that has a lot to do with it. He's a lot more sensitive to things that people say to him and how he reacts to people that troll him on Twitter.
You just said get it out of your system. We used to work at a company. You leave that company. It's not like the next day, even though your check is signed by a new company, that's not part of your life. That's chapter 3. This is chapter 4. And then there's chapter 5. Like, this is the way the world works. You don't get over your girlfriend in a day. You don't get over your ex-company in a day. Listen, man, we ask these pro athletes. They're 28. I mean, you go on social media, 48-year-olds can't be grown-ups.
Yeah, no, it's very difficult. I just hope that, and I think he will be, because he went through a lot, but he's going to get, guys in the NBA are going to push him about this. They're going to, when the trash talk starts, some of this is going to play out. I think he'll be tough enough to handle it.
I think definitely.
But again, I think it's going to be different, though, because I do think guys are going to go at him.
Let's keep it real, though, guys. We sat up here when he made the move, and what did we say about Billy Donovan? He can't lead Durant to a title. Russell Westbrook? Who's going to lead that guy? So he's saying what everybody else said. And Whitlock, I know you and I, maybe Cowherd a little bit, we demand candor from athletes. We want them to keep it real, keep it 100. Kevin Durant just did that. He told the truth. I couldn't win with Durant, with Donovan. I couldn't win with Russ.
Well, to your point.
And he's out.
That was the criticism.
Yeah.
He said what we all thought, which was, I remember talking to...
He didn't say Westbrook, though. He said Donovan and the rest of those.
Well, him and Westbrook had beef because Westbrook was a ball hog. And, he wanted the ball at the end.
Let me touche this. I didn't like the move because I felt like, listen, they're up 3-1 against the Warriors, okay? You got to close that out because if what Kevin Durant put on display last year, if he would have put that on display in OKC, they would have beat Golden State.
But he got the help from Curry.
And he would have never had to leave.
Tomorrow we're going to discuss how Reggie White had to pamper this guy's whole career.
Pamper?
Embarrassed.
Nobody does
that.
No man is an island.
Since I was 6 months.